Coming up, we're going to talk about Universal's third or fourth theme park, depending on whether or not you consider Volcano Bay an actual theme park. And we're going to just kind of blue sky with it based on some information that came across our way a long time ago. So, nothing more to say about that. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Universal edition of the Diz Unplugged. This is episode 211 of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com, experts at helping you plan the perfect Universal vacation. Visit them on the web at www.DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is also brought to you by DizBoards.com. If you're looking for even more information to help you plan your Universal Orlando vacation, head over to DizBoards.com and join the discussion today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. I am your host, Craig Williams. Today, I am joined alongside by my co-host, Mr. Ryno Clavin.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for being here today, Ryno. And we've got a little bit of a fun blue sky episode for you, just because it's, I don't know why I always try to justify an excuse for what we talk about. It's been busy. Ryno was gone. I've been busy. We have nothing else to talk about. We haven't gone out to do any reviews, anything fun. The news has been slow after all that Hagrid excitement. So we're going to shift our focus onto Universal's next expansion that is coming up. The third or fourth park, no matter which side you fall on. Which one are you, Ryno? Or is this going to be their third theme park or their fourth theme park?
Oh, I don't know. I think third. I think I would normally refer to it as the third. I don't know. No, when I refer to Disney World, I say they have 6 parks here. So I'd say Universal has a fourth park. Yeah.
I changed my verbiage to go along with that. If Universal wants to push that Volcano Bay was their third theme park, which just happened to be a water theme park, then you know what? I'm going to go all out and say, well, okay, Universal has 3 parks. Walt Disney World has 6 parks. They've got two water theme parks, and then 4 theme parks.
Theme parks.
And so we know the next theme park at Universal Orlando will in fact be a theme park. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not a themed water park. Yeah,
not a themed water park. No, they don't need 2 themed water parks. They need a new theme park, and so that's what they're going to go with. And this has been something, we've kind of talked about it a little bit here and there along the way. Haven't really dug in too deep with it along the lines, just because we're not the type of site that likes to constantly go along with the flow of rumors. It's very hard to keep up with. Rumors are changing. It's very hard to draw a line on what you want to share and stuff, because obviously the rumors have to start from somewhere. And in the case of if they're coming from other great sites out there, ones I've mentioned before on this show, the forums base over at Inside Universal, just a ton of fun perusing also their message boards to go in depth with all of the rumors and even just other Universal information over there. That's a great source for it. And then lately on Twitter and on her website, OrlandoParkStop.com, Alicia Stella just like killing it with what she is putting out there in terms of rumors and upcoming projects and stuff like that. So there's other people who are doing it better than we could ever do it, because one thing I will never do is try to share information that could ever cost anyone to lose their job, especially since I still have a lot of friends who work at Universal, and they don't pass off information onto me because of that very reason, and I respect their opinion, or I respect their decisions to do that. So it's a solid line on that for us. But eventually we had to acknowledge that there was there is the new park coming, the fourth theme park, or the third theme park, and figured that we want to talk a little bit about it. And on the sites I've already mentioned, there's a lot of rumors about what is going to be coming to that park. And instead of focusing on that information, I'm going to talk about other rumors that we have heard. Some of it is crossover, and you'll absolutely know where there is the crossover there. It's not going to be a surprise, jump out and bite you or anything. There's definite crossover between the information that we've heard and what the other places out there have heard. So I think there's some solid footing on those, but you know what? I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. Let's just get into it and go from there. So with the new park, you know, we still don't know what the name will actually be for it. The image came out with it showing Fantastic Worlds being the case, but then I believe Warner Brothers threw out a dispute on that actually being the name. So not going to go in depth right now with what the name of the park will be. Hopefully it's Fantastic Worlds. Maybe it won't be. But okay, we'll find out very soon, I'm sure, on that, especially once they make an announcement. But the information that was passed along for us, I can't talk about who sent it over and where they got that information, but it may be completely wrong. It may be out of date. It could be any sorts of things, but I found it to be very interesting. And this was sent months and months and months ago, and one of those things just kind of stumbled upon it again and sparked into my mind like, this could all be different now. But if it's not, it would be fun discussing it. So the information that kind of passed along our line is that this new park could potentially have 5 different sections in it. I know other places out there have said kind of 4, but this, at least the plans at one point were maybe 5 sections. With the first one, as you walk into the park, the entry area, kind of like what would be port of entry at Islands of Adventure. Here in this theme park, it would be Celestial Garden, and based on Greek and Roman aesthetics. And this sounds... The idea of anything like this sounds very strange to me and doesn't make a lot of sense.
I hope it's like 5. I'm just counting I'm caught up on that sections part, because if we go through like Islands of Adventure, you've got Marvel, Toons, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, Lost Continent, and Seuss. That's 6, and then the entryway would be 7.
Yeah, but there's always room for expansion too. With any project like this, they might open up with a small amount and then expand in the future to new lands. So
new lands in the theme park.
I mean, because at one point it was just all Lost Continent, even though it was broken down into different sections with the section that like Poseidon's Fury and stuff was in, and then the old Enchanted Forest kind of section with dueling dragons and all that. So it's not, things can change and update on that, but specifically about a port of entry style entrance in with Greek and Roman theming to it. Pro, con?
I don't know. It's got to be themed to something, I guess, because I mean, does it really? I don't know. But it seems like if they're going to take, that seems very rooted in like what you said, port of in Islands of Adventure fashion, like having this theming to just the entryway.
Yeah. In a theme park where we are pretty sure that is going to be just a juggernaut of all the different intellectual properties they can pull in together.
Yeah.
An area that has like this aesthetic of Greek and Roman doesn't seem like it would have a place in there unless there was an intellectual property that was based on it. And I understand that with Port of Entry at Islands of Adventure. It's telling that story, and so it makes sense in a way, but I feel like at this point now, any piece of land that isn't somehow shoving an intellectual property in it is kind of wasted land.
Well, I'm not even saying that it has to be an intellectual property, but like don't waste. It feels like a waste, I guess. Maybe I am saying that, but it just seems like I don't know. I'm just trying to think of other theme parks that kind of do the same thing. I guess you have like Main Street at Magic Kingdom is themed to that. So I don't know. I guess it's got to be themed to something. I'm just imagining it set in the same way of Islands of Adventure, like that one strip where you go in and you can go left or right. You know, it's different in studios because you can kind of veer off to the right or keep going straight ahead. But
yeah, I honestly,
it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me either. And I don't have a lot of time in my life to sit around and read everything about every rumor that's going on out there. I don't believe in the research I've ever done that I've seen anyone else. Oh, Angel
I have an idea.
No, sorry. I don't think I remember seeing anyone else even talk about this. So I'm hoping this was like really, really old and an original concept, and it was dropped at some point.
Yeah,
maybe. Who knows?
Not to be rude, it also seems really similar to Islands of Adventure to the point where I was like, I don't want a copy of the properties you already have. I want something new.
Yeah, so hopefully that's an idea that was scraped off. And even if it's not, I would trust that Universal would still do something similar in that way, and they would do it to the best of their ability.
The gateway to different worlds, so it's like that's the whole idea, was like through Greek Roman gods or something like that. I don't know.
Who knows? But only time will tell. Then, of course, another one of the sections in this park would be a brand new Wizarding World of Harry Potter in some way, and
I think Fantastic Beasts is the franchise you got to go with over there.
I'm not even going to talk about what it could be. What I personally would want to see would be Fantastic Beasts. I know the movies aren't super popular.
Not as popular as the originals, yeah.
But I was okay with Fantastic Beasts and then The Crimes of Grindelwald. I actually walked out of that saying, you know what, it's not a perfect movie, but it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of potential to translate that into an actual theme park environment.
Yeah. I enjoyed Crimes of Grindelwald more than Fantastic Beasts, and I know I might be in the minority with that or whatever. I don't know. But I'm interested to see that time frame of Harry Potter. Like maybe explore that, like you setting the Wizarding World in that like early like 30s, time frame, 20s, 30s. I guess it's late 20s, early 30s, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely in that time period, and it's just whether or not you would go with the New York route of things,
or you do Paris.
You can do Paris now with it too. I would almost love to see some of the Paris recreated that was in Crimes of Grindelwald.
The circus scene would be kind of neat with all the animals and stuff. Or maybe it's like the whole area is all different places like that. You kind of move from one place to another through like port keys or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. And anything they would be doing with Fantastic Beasts, they're going to be working alongside with J.K. Rowling as well as Warner Brothers on it. Warner Brothers, the main point of lead with them working it, and then J.K. has final say on a lot of stuff. But with that, like, J.K. is helming these movies. She's the one who's helping with the stories and such. So she knows where it's all going with it. So anything they chose to fit in, like she might have a scene that's already been mapped out for the fourth movie that she's like, no, I know this is going to be something that needs to make it to this park eventually when it opens up.
Yeah.
There's always that possibility with it. And I like that. There's nothing against classic Potter. We all know the rumors of like, oh, one day Fear Factor is going to go and Ministry of Magic's going to be put there, or they're going to build the Weasleys' house at some point. The Ministry of Magic, I could almost be on board one day, but even then, I don't see a lot of depth to that. I see just it being a small add-on, and beyond that, I don't know if there's any other iconic locations in the Wizarding World that in the classic stories, the 7 books. I don't even know if there's any that I need to see brought to life per se.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Well, those two parks are connected. I feel like this third park could potentially not be in an area where it can be connected in the same way. And so like I like the idea that they should like run with that and make it something that isn't connected or whatever. Who knows? Maybe someday they'll build the Quidditch pitch and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, then that's kind of out there. But even then, you kind of get to experience it in the best way on Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey.
That's true.
You're out there with that. So it only if there's not a direct connection between our current campus that we have and what the new park will be, where you can have something like a Hogwarts Express, then yeah, you might as well just say, why even try to do anything from the classic movies? Let's just go and break off into Fantastic Beasts over there. And I for one am all on board with that, because I enjoy Fantastic Beasts. And
what if it's a different school? What if we're thinking? What if we're taking the route where we're thinking it's stuff represented in the books or movies? But what if it's something that's been referenced but didn't spend time in, but it's still in the Wizarding world?
You have my attention peaked on that now, but not enough to go into a full blown discussion on it. But that will keep my mind moving. What else would we like to see on those different schools? Because we know about the different schools just alone.
Could be the American school.
Exactly. It could be the American. It could be the Beauxbatons. And
I don't know where Crumb's from. I forget what it's called.
My brain just isn't working today. We're on 6 hours of recording at this point, so my brain has just turned
Durmstrang.
much. Thank you.
I had to go through the scene in my head and be like, what are they yelling?
Yeah, and we still have a little bit more of this to go over too, because we're only 2 sections in on that. And then the next section, which I think we can all agree will definitely be there, will be whatever comes with Nintendo. Specifically, for convenience sake, it's going to open up with the Super Nintendo Land with Mario, of course, but then also hopefully we saw, a lot of the original concept was put out there in different places where it kind of did show off that Donkey Kong was coming along fully formed and would integrate really well with the Super Mario world right next to it. So I think we can probably count on both of those being in this new park, and I for one could not be more excited.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for a Nintendo area. I can't wait. Especially those. I love Mario and Donkey Kong. Those are my two favorite things to play on all platforms whenever they come out. As they go through, they've gone through the ages. Although I'm not a fan of the one on the Switch, but of the Donkey Kong, I love the Mario. But I know people will be like, well, what about Pokemon? But Pokemon is its own, it is on Nintendo, and it is, but from what I understand is it's the Pokemon, company owns it. And so, Nintendo makes the game, but it's not it's a Nintendo. They can't just have this deal with Nintendo and Nintendo say, yes, you can use this or whatever. But this is why I circle back to it, is because that movie is coming out, Detective Pikachu, and this is supposed to launch a whole cinematic universe. So you'd think that that's the one that would be ripe for.
There's no doubt. I think that eventually they will mine Pokemon in some way.
A training facility or something.
The same way they're going to try to mine Zelda and others. They've got to start with what will adapt the best and what will be the most popular. And we obviously know that
Mario and Donkey have been around since the beginning too.
Yeah, and we've been talking about it, and from the very start, and with the patents released and stuff, you knew that the one roller coaster design that they were going for was the mine train from Donkey Kong. It was all set up to work perfectly. That's the backbone. It doesn't matter if they do have a new Wizarding World tie-in at the new park that's going to be coming in. That is going to be next door.
The park is for Nintendo.
Yeah. That's going to be the basis, and it's a long time coming. It's what everyone wants. That when talking about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the answer is, well, what's Universal going to do? Everyone consecutively answers Nintendo. We're really waiting on it, and I know we're all sick of waiting, but we know that the park is coming along. They're gonna ramp it up sooner or later here. So it's hopefully we just are talking about less than 10 years waiting to get on.
I know that's the hardest part about having this discussion, is really being like, oh, it's exciting to open, but a whole new theme park takes a long time to build. It's not just the one land that takes a little bit to build. It's you got to flatten land. You got to start the whole thing. Yeah.
And it's in the progress, but then building up and getting everything ready to go. I mean,
I don't want to be old and going here. I want to be young still.
I know and I feel old, so
Yeah.
I can only imagine how it'll be when it actually opens up. But next section, definitely could be potentially a DreamWorks animated section, but the front runner would definitely be something based on How to Train Your Dragon. And
that seems weird to me. I haven't seen the movies though, so I can't really speak to that. I know my nephew loves them. He loves Toothless. But this franchise just finished. Like, it had a definitive last movie, and it's weird to me that they would pick like a closed franchise, I guess, that I don't want to. I know it's done well critically and it's done fine at the box office, but it's not their biggest hit, you know?
But it has so much potential with it. And since you haven't seen the movies, I know that would be harder for you to understand. But I feel like of all the worlds they've created, it's actually the most fleshed out. It is.
Okay.
There's a reason why it's critically been accepted so well, because they're well-made movies. It also suffers like any animated project, that it kind of gets brought down because of main actors voice casting. Like,
you don't like Jay Baruchel?
Well, I do like him, but I don't like Hiccup. I kind of don't see him as Hiccup. It's Jay Baruchel.
Yeah,
that's him, and that's not his dad. That's Gerard Butler, clearly, and Craig Ferguson.
Yeah.
Like, there's you just pick out these voices, and not T.J. Miller in the third movie. I saw that.
Oh, is it a not T.J. Miller?
Yeah, he got the replacement on that, but and America Ferrera is also she's
the girl.
Yeah, so there's all these voices that it's hard to completely take you in the universe, but because the story's so good, kind of like the Toy Story movies, when the universe they built and the stories are so good, you start to push that stuff to the side and accept it for what it is, and I feel like that's what they've done. And nothing against Shrek and all the other DreamWorks movies out there, Madagascar, Trolls. I'm sure people are going to be like, why did he say Madagascar like that? But
Madagascar.
But that's how I said it. Nothing against those. I just feel like How to Train Your Dragon is the pinnacle of what DreamWorks has done.
It's just, I guess, it's interesting to me to devote an entire land to a singular thing, I say, as we just talked about Harry Potter. But, as opposed to it being more a celebration of different DreamWorks stuff.
I think this is where you could see if this was a route that they were going, where they're going to put DreamWorks in this way. Maybe it starts with How to Train Your Dragon, and from there expands on to another film series.
Yeah.
I think that wouldn't be a terrible idea at all, but I also at one point in time was hearing stories about How to Train Your Dragon starting to maybe even be thought of replacing something inside Shrek.
Yeah.
So that could if they went that way instead of waiting for a park, that might change the plans for that. So again, that's where this really is just all like, this is information that was out there at one point. Do we think it's cool? Do we think it would fit in?
Yeah.
I understand your side. I think it would fit in, but I do think that they eventually the end goal would want to be to make it an expanded portion and then include more DreamWorks in it. And because you paid all that money for DreamWorks, might as well get your money out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So, and then the final section, which I think everyone has kind of come to agreeing that this is most likely, unless something terrible goes wrong with it, it's pretty much a guarantee that it's going to be in there now. Every other site has talked about it at one point or another, and this information, which I trust at least to a certain extent from the person who sent it, definitely a class Universal Monsters.
I would die.
Section in here. You would die?
I would die. And then I would be one of the monsters.
Yeah, then you would be one of the monsters too. So in terms of this one, I'm not going to talk about what other people have thrown out there and what could potentially be there, what they would like to see. All I can say is what I personally would want to see with it, and that is definitely honest tributes to the classic side of things. We know what happened with Tom Cruise's The Mummy in the Dark Universe, and then thinking that there was going to be issues with it from there on, and now Lee Winnell stepping in and is going to.
Well, they're like retooling the Invisible Man, right?
Yeah, Lee Winnell and Blumhouse are going to be working on that.
That's right.
And the door is shut on in terms of a dark universe, but they may take over all the monster movies moving forward and really harness that. So it not going to be a cinematic universe in the same sense of Marvel and DC and all that, but still continue the monster franchises on, but with fresh storytelling. And it's very rare that I sit through a Blumhouse movie and I'm just like absolutely hating it in every way. Most of the time I'm pleasantly surprised, if not really enjoying it. So I like the concept of that, but for me, I'm gonna want the classic realm of this. I would love to see Frankenstein as like the pinnacle of it, because Frankenstein is my classic monster. I think everyone has it.
I wonder if it would like all look like what Transylvania or something, or if it would all be in black and white, or I mean,
like Dracula's castle in there, or
I'm just wondering what the land looks like. Is it supposed to look, because I guess Wolfman's kind of in the fields and then Dracula's in the castle. Frankenstein's in the castle.
Yeah, I would want it to have that vague European sense where you're not sure if you're in a Transylvanian setting or the village of where Frankenstein's monster has been roaming around, or where Wolfman is. Bring it all together and have it all together in one castle, like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is an amazing, awesome movie. If you haven't seen it before, I highly recommend it. I think going vague European on that is the best way, and then integrating the different stories in. It's, yes, you might want to see The Mummy in there, but you don't necessarily need to, because you have Brendan Fraser's Mummy still living strong over at Universal Studios Florida. But I feel like Frankenstein needs the Bride of Frankenstein need their fair share into it. I love Wolfman. That's next one of my, like, when I'm watching classic monster movies, I always start with Frankenstein, go on to Wolfman. I love Invisible Man. Classic Claude Rains is just phenomenal. I love them all so much, and I feel like you said it before we started recording too, just like the possibility of thinking of things in the perspective of everything being in a black and white setting, even if you wanted it to be. Like, I feel like that could add a new level of scariness and terrifyingness to it. But with an area like that, it's, as long as they continue producing new monster movies, it keeps it relevant, but at the same time, it's also that honest nod and throwback to Universal's history that sometimes I know I get frustrated that it seems like they don't care about how their studio survived and continued to thrive on these movies. Like, that's part of why Universal is still around today, is because of them, and they don't get the love that they deserve on it. So a whole section dedicated to it in a new park, sign me up for sure.
Oh yeah.
But, so that would make all 5. So again, that stuff is, besides Potter and, honestly, Potter, Nintendo, and the classic monster stuff, or just Universal monsters. I shouldn't say only classic. That's just what I would want to see. Besides monsters, Potter, and Nintendo, I think everything else is probably outdated at this point, if not very outdated, or never even on the table. But who knows at all. We needed an episode topic. Haven't really talked about this yet. Wanted to geek out for just a little bit and figured, why not go for it with it? So we want to know what you have to say about it. So of course, use those comments down below, and I look forward to reading and responding to what you write in there. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much, Ryno, for taking part in it. And thank you to everyone out there for listening and watching this. Of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you are subscribed to us. Hit that bell button so you get notified anytime we have a new video, and leave us those comments below. Like I said, hit that thumbs up or thumbs down. If you're listening to this on iTunes, go ahead, subscribe, rate, and review us. And how could I forget? If you're listening to this on, I'm out of it completely now. DisUnplugged.com if you need more information. Home of our show notes page for this show and all the others on the Disunplugged podcast network. So you can find links to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and email uopodcast@disunplugged.com. That's the most important one. We're now officially back in the game. I am opening up a link on Facebook for you to ask questions. Send them to our email, uopodcast@disunplugged.com, because this is released on Thursday. As of Monday, we will be recording a question and answer episode to be released next Thursday. So we got to get those questions in and get rolling on that. So it's happening now. Start getting those in there. But that is it for this episode. Thank you so much again to everyone out there for listening and watching. We'll see you again next week for another episode of the Disney Unplugged Universal Edition. But until then, remember, we still have not changed the name.